things.
I would never, ever, once, ever go live without telling you. Just like how I would never, ever take screenshots of you guys while we're sitting in the background. I would never once do that. I have, in fact, never done that in my entire life.
Yeah.
Well, part of being a
killed
professional.
me with laughter.
Yes, you should put a disclaimer saying, warning, you might be subject to excessive laughter. We're not responsible for spewing drinks that you might have in your mouth when we say something stupid. Because you could have a liability.
I am not responsible for you spitting something sticky all over your keyboard.
Uh-oh.
I just got a question.
Yeah.
I just got a question on one of my videos about like the gameplay that I have in the background during my part because I didn't have time to animate it. It's a little weird. It's like, there's a whole bunch of science going on, but you want to know how I got my in-game pipes to have a 90-degree turn. Okay.
I mean, yeah.
And if your keyboard is sticky, there may be a reason.
I mean, there would have to be a reason.
Yeah. I bought mine sticky, I swear.
You bought a used keyboard? You bought a used keyboard? Isn't that like okay?
Landon, this chick made me discover that I can snort laugh.
All right, you guys ready? Couple seconds.
Ready as I'm gonna be.
Yeah, let's get to
Everybody
the bar stool for the tavern.
Everybody, make sure that they do their best. We're starting the news sound. Do 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 do. All right, you guys let us know in the chat which one had the best. I just did Powerpuff Girls. I don't know why.
I followed you with that. I knew that you were going for that. I followed you with that.
Oh, so Maanya's just copying me and ripping me off. Anyway, hey everybody, welcome back to the tavern.
Hey.
Notice it looks a little bit different in here.
Hey.
We are back. Landon is back from his around the world adventures, or off-world adventures, wherever he was going. Something, the sun. Landon, welcome back.
I find it's good because I stuck myself where the sun don't shine for 1 minute 11.2 seconds. In the land slightly down under. I know that they like to say that the land down under, but the land down under is really Antarctica. And that other continent is just posing. Which the other thing, by the way, is that they were very keen on telling me again that Pavlova is Australian, not Kiwi. Even though a lot of the Pavlova I had Kiwis on it, but that's another story.
Maanyaa, how you doing? What's going on?
I haven't recovered from last time you nearly killed me, Chesh. Seriously.
Oh. To be fair, that was only like a day and a half ago.
Yeah, I haven't recovered. Yeah. They're like, this girl, seriously. And then she took screenshots of my fucking big eyes and put them everywhere.
Everywhere? I didn't post it on Twitter yet. With that attitude, maybe I will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What?
Yeah, but Maanyaa, you're like the DFF meme, right? That character thing, and I always try to say it's going to be fun. I didn't quite get the inflection you do, but
this is going to be
you're
fun.
A meme generator.
Maanyaa is a meme generator. This is
that right. I got to get that gravelly bit of your voice in there. Yeah, good.
Maanya's got the testosterone to boot. Dapper,
yes.
What's going on, man? How you doing? Little tired?
Oh, yeah, a little tired. I just got done with a 2.5-hour stream on my my channel where, in case anyone here doesn't know, there's a guy, Sal Cordova, whom I have generally considered to be a friend of the channel. He's a young Earth creationist, but still, we've managed to get along pretty well. But he decided to respond to some videos of mine without doing the most important part of doing a response, which is to
watch them,
actually examine the thing that you're responding to. Yeah, whether read or watch. So I brought on one Dr. Zach Hancock, who is in fact an actual PhD evolutionary biologist who just got back from doing field work collecting samples for another genetic study on some crustaceans. Cool. Yeah, and so he and I took a look at the only of the three responses that had anything substantive, because Sal's first response was just basically taking his mentor and putting his genitals firmly in his mouth and just going to town about how much of a big brain the guy is. To which I say, okay, the smarter he is, the less easy it is for me to say that he's being just foolish instead of dishonest. So I mean, make him as smart as you want. That just helps my he's being dishonest claim. The next one was the one we responded to.
But aren't you guilty of having known Darwinists on your channel? Isn't that?
Well, no one that I know of who's been of all the people that I have had on my channel, I don't know of any of them who would self-identify as a Darwinist. So I'll say that.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
Yeah.
I was joking,
so have I had on Darwinists? Not to my knowledge. And then the third response he did was just, oh, hey, did you guys know that DNA folding exists? To which I say yes. That's it. That's the whole response.
I knew. Dapper, are we able to congratulate you on breaking a specific number yet?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm Yay! I hit 10,000 last night. Briefly this morning went down below, but now I am. I believe last time I checked, I'm at 10,003 or something. So
everybody, special congratulations to Dapper. Thank you so much, Dapper. Good job for you. Applause for Dapper in the chat. Finally broke 10,000 subs on YouTube. Good for you.
And so, don't you get like a paper thing rather than a bronze or silver? So isn't that what
I believe Planner Walk has a paper play button that he displays for his 10,000.
Oh really?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. That's funny. Planner Walk's a funny guy.
He is a funny guy, and I would feel like I was stealing his gag if I put one of those in my set, so I probably won't.
Well, maybe you could do a dinosaur scale. How about a dinosaur scale type of thing, right?
Okay,
you could do the YouTube thing, but done in a dinosaur scale like thing, or dinosaur tooth.
I know. Dapper, there's a shelf behind you. Put a play button on there.
Well, I mean, that's where it would go if I added a play button.
Yeah.
Or maybe a Klingon. How about a Klingon dagger type thing that's done in that?
Oh God.
I think Dapper should just
do that too.
Just retexture your entire dinosaur into just a YouTube play button overlay.
That's like going to left and right.
There you go. But seriously, folks, you should subscribe to Dapper's show, because not only does he address so-called young Earth creationism, but he actually explains things.
Flintstones.
He does more than he does a show you what. So you actually will learn about science stuff by watching him examine incredible, lethally claims.
One of my big goals is that I be educational, but in the context of like fun debunking stuff, rather than, because look, I get it. Straight science content can get a little dry, and so I try to find look, we can all laugh and point at the ridiculousness of this conspiracy theorist, because let's face it, young Earth creationism is a conspiracy theory. But in the meantime, you can learn things about hey, how does systematics work? What is the actual genetic relationships between different organisms? How do people determine evolutionary relationships? How do we know what rocks are made during floods or during deserts or landslides or volcanoes? How do we know these things? And I will tell you in the context of showing you why the wrong person is wrong.
And if that doesn't hold your attention, occasionally you'll hear yodeling on this show. That's important.
That
is also true. There is a decent amount of yodeling that occurs.
Please do not watch any of the previous episodes I have been on. It will not go well for you.
Yeah, but
user discretion is advised.
Yes, actually, I think everyone here has been on my channel at least a few times.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think so.
Yes, for that sort of thing.
Yeah, Maanya's been there, Landon's been there, Chesh is... I think Chesh right now is my...
Most regular?
I think she might be my most regular guest who does not have a regular show that she's just on most weeks. or right.
Like,
Oh,
I'm
that's
not
fine
bent.
for-
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not
That's fine
bent. You're
for
not
that.
Maddie.
And-
I've been around for a while. I was here before it was cool.
Yeah.
It's true.
The next
Back
time
before
our
Yep.
Dapper, our schedule line, if you have something that's just going to be more on the physics side, because the biology is not my strong suit, but more physics type stuff or astronomy stuff.
Landed
or
out
that sort of
here
thing.
networking.
No,
Hey.
That would be.
I-
I'd be.
could. Well, so the last thing I did with Jackson was about stellar evolution and star formation. I could try
That
to
was
find something
painful.
else about those things. Oh my god, was
That was
ever.
that was that was painful. That was painful.
Oh
Anyway.
Oh.
my god, that is the best comment so far. Dapper, you got a new show title. Garbage
Okay, here
with
we
a
go.
goblin.
There we
Yay!
go. You know,
Perfect.
not a bad title. Yeah,
That is pretty good. That is pretty good.
that is. It's better than Dapper Reacts, which is the show I typically do on most Saturdays, which is
Oh,
a really
fair enough.
boring title.
And of course, those who are watching this right now, Chesh and Maanyaa have done a number of amazing shows. If you try to avoid some of the online pop culture stuff, you can still learn about it without having too much harm to your psyche. So you don't have to watch
We ensure
certain
that.
travesties.
It's true. We
They'll-
hurt our
they'll
brains,
Except
so
on
you
my
don't have
credit.
to.
Yeah.
All right, well let's get rolling. Congratulations, Dapper. That's amazing for you. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations,
Yay.
and hopefully
Thank
nothing
you,
more,
thank
but
you.
more good things for you. So today we are back with the tavern, which means we're talking about worldwide news, and hopefully you'll be able to take something away from it and how to actually affect your local area and how to actually take part in things without you wanting to, melt your own face off. So we have a couple of options, and you guys got to tell me what you want to start with. We have the writer's strike, which has some updates, and they are on week 4. We have Tesla, because Tesla's getting itself into some
Shit.
dumpster fires.
Yes.
It might be a little on
Some
the nose.
short circuits. Short circuits, yes.
Yeah. Johnny, 5. There is, we can talk about the Tories and exactly what they are and how that's affecting Brexit and the current Brexit stuff that's been going on. We can touch on Trump and DeSantis as well if we want. So what do you guys want to start on?
I think so. It will be good to talk about the Tesla stuff
That
because,
seems fair.
and then the Tory stuff also because that's kind of international. Because I think so. A lot of
Yeah.
people still don't know how Brexit is affecting Britain.
Yeah.
So
And-
yeah. So,
And the other thing as well is that certainly you can find so-called media sources that cover your own country's stuff, but sometimes seeing it in another country can help you understand what's going on locally, right? Because you're not as tied into it. Now, obviously, those that are in the former United Kingdom, they're in the whole Brexit stuff. But for those who are outside, you can sort of see parallels. Because guess what? People are people wherever you go, right? Every country has their Governor Florida man. Every country has their Pauline Hanson. Every
true.
country has
Yeah.
their,
Yeah.
and they just have on a different stick. So you might learn from something.
Absolutely. So does that mean we want to start with Tesla?
Yeah,
Sure.
let's do that.
Landon? Tesla?
right into it.
Yep.
All right, Tesla it is. Okay, let's bring this on up here and merge us on over. Woo!
Hey.
Aren't
Woo!
we
I bet-
fancy?
Fancy.
This is not a real tavern, and
Correct.
drink responsibly for the non-tavern stuff.
All right. So,
Henry
have here-
Reinhardt's Pride Reserve, Northwest Lager.
here we have a huge Tesla data leak reportedly reveals thousands of safety complaints, as well as massive Tesla file leak may bring a United States $30.5 billion fine as product secrets and 4,000 rogue autopilot complaints pop up.
Yeah. Oh god. Okay. Yeah. Here we go.
Yep.
Yeah.
And As well as, yeah, I forgot to bring this one up. The EU has fined Facebook and Meta. That's a thing that we can cover as well. But
Yeah.
Tesla might be charged 4% of its annual revenue in a similar privacy breach case, which would be about $3.5 billion. And it's called the Tesla Files. It includes 100 gigabytes of confidential data handed over by a whistleblower who Tesla lawyers claim was a disgruntled former employee.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Oh no, they were happy.
course.
They were happy. No, they were a happy employee that was saying, "See how good this company is and how good this product is." Look, right? They were pleased to play. No,
Apparently, a Tesla service technician used their access to one of the company's intrant to fetch all the inside info they could get their hands on. That includes customer and employee private information such as phone and social security numbers, addresses, bank accounts, details, and even salaries.
Social security and salaries? Fuck.
Yeah,
You don't buy a Tesla, you rent a Tesla.
I think so. That's what
Well-
I think. So someone brought it up. I think so. It was one of the founders of Tesla that, or one of the other. I heard it somewhere. I read it in a book. I think so. That Tesla is not actually like a car company or a rocket or launching company. It's a company that mines data.
Yes,
That's
and-
what it is.
So one of the problems with Tesla reliability and so forth, if you're somebody like me that researches cars for 18 months and looks at consumer issues and transportation safety stuff, you will find that Tesla is often not able to be rated because Tesla, unlike car companies, tries to avoid reporting issues unless they're legally compelled to do so, right? If you look at this article, one of the things you'll find is that Tesla instructs Tesla representatives to never put anything into writing to do voice or leave voice mail responses to stuff unless the lawyers are compel them to put something in writing, right? And you'll find, if you want to say reliability of a Tesla, and let's say you're in the United States in a state, you'll find that there is often insufficient data for someone even like Consumer Reports to evaluate the reliability of those cars or the customer satisfaction. Now part of the problem, and I began to see some of the problems when I used to work in Silicon Valley for a very large company that had a whole pile of cars, of those Tesla cars in the parking lot, and started seeing things and talking to individual people. Particularly in the United States, cars are a status symbol, and people identify with a car.
Oh, yeah.
So if you say to somebody, your new car sucks, they feel personally affronted, right? They have to
That's what
extol
gold
the
in India.
virtues and rationalize their set. But in fact, when you start looking and saying, so how come you have duct tape on your Tesla 3? Oh, well, I have a leak problem, and well, they say there's going to be about 4 months before they have a part to replace it, thing. And you find, and when you look at this data mining, what you'll find is extraordinary amounts of safety problems. My recommendation, if you're driving and you see one of those C cars out there from the person of poor impulse control, called a Tesla, be careful. Because those cars are dangerous. They're a hazard. And they do things besides just the normal human problem. Their so-called quasi-automation stuff is quite dangerous, right? I'm hoping that this data, when they look at the safety stuff, because again, they're avoiding, because normally what a car company does when there's a problem is they report it to a transportation agency so that if there's a trend, they don't get a class action lawsuit. Recalls occur because a company tries to see a pattern.
Toyota
and
has
say,
done a
we're going to
lot.
follow with brakes. Yeah. That's what the problem is. But the person who has poor impulse control running this company doesn't want that to happen. In fact, that they really target the person who are unfortunate enough to buy one of those cars, to get them to see it as a status symbol, to get them to try to excuse problems, and when these problems start occurring, the mean time to repair of a problem of Tesla is extraordinary, because Tesla is about building new cars, not servicing old ones.
Oh yeah, there's a whole
yeah.
huge Tesla right to repair thing, and maybe it'd be worthwhile to do just a whole thing talking about specifically Tesla's business practices. Inkboy, who's been a member for 33 months, thank you so much, Inkboy. Something out.
Yay!
And I actually really appreciate when people notice this kind of stuff. And Inkboy said, "Am I the only one who's noticing that everyone on the panel is sitting on 2 bar stools each? Also, hi Dapper, please say long live phalangic tunicates and all of their followers."
Oh.
Well, okay. So first of all,
Uh-oh,
I don't know what a pelagic tunicate is. There's such a thing as a pelagic tunicate.
Pelagic.
There's Pelagic. Palagic, as far as I know, isn't a word. But I can't say that in good conscience, because it's just not true. Pelagic tunicates are the worst.
Basically, Dapper
they're
saying
sort of,
that
they're sort of like
his integrity is more expensive than that.
Yeah.
I mean,
it will require a super chat on my channel instead.
That's not a super chat.
And it's the thing, and you don't get a drink, but it is, they're sort of like the Tesla of the Sea World.
Whoa,
Yeah,
whoa, whoa,
basically.
whoa, 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 whoa.
Well, except that they don't catch fire as often.
Yes, that is true. You can burn them if you dry them out.
Speaking of fires. Speaking of.
But yeah, so Teslas are unreliable. They are a safety hazard. They have a habit of trying to hide the safety things. And the company, I believe, needs to have its legal comeuppance for luck. If you are so unfortunate as to have one of these cars, please avoid all the automated stuff and the quasi-automated stuff as a safety precaution for me, right? I don't want you to be doing the systems. And please don't park it next to my house, because I don't want them catching on fire. That's one of the things.
Gonna flip
and you'll see in this large corpus of data, you will find customers bringing severe safety concerns that normally would cause a recall to occur, but inconvenient.
Yeah.
It is
and
inconvenient to the
Daisy
market.
makes a really good point that says, I mean, Tesla's company value is built entirely on hype. If their stock values ever went back to something reasonable for a car company, their size would destroy them.
Yeah. And also, here in New Zealand, like, if you talk like buying a Tesla, everybody just laughs at you. They're like, oh, they're like, why are you going to spend so much money on a car? Like, just buy a secondhand car. Like, New Zealand is one of the countries that imports their cars, secondhand cars from other countries. We don't like buying new cars. If there are new cars on the market, like the new electric ones.
Beep, beep. That was a Tesla.
Oh. So, yeah, people here prefer to lease
heard us.
because then it's the leasing company's responsibility, whatever comes with it. And at the same time, like Landon said, like there's a reason why FDA and the Transport Authority exist. It's about safety of the people, right? And if you're putting safety of the people online, yeah, you should be investigated into. And that's why I'm a little, what do you say? I'm a little like, I'm not too, even though I have an engineering background, I'm not a big fan of AI. I'm just not. Like, imagine Tesla cars trying to run in a country like Philippines or India. They won't, because it won't be able to map it. They won't be able to map India. No way they're going to be able to map it. So that also comes a lot. And yeah, it's about time that Tesla got investigated, because it's just become... we're just waiting for a disaster to happen.
The article goes on to say Elon Musk's SSN has also been included in the Tesla Files dataset, along with sensitive product information and more than 4,000 complaints against the driver assist autopilot software for phantom braking or sudden acceleration, quote, "My autopilot almost killed me," read one such missive, and has a whole and as a whole, the breach whiffs of bigger technological problems than previously thought.
Yeah, and you have to be
I want to point
careful on the road near a Tesla when, like, say, the lines change and so forth, because those cars typically, people who rely on some of that stuff will do odd things. If they're not there to correct the machine, can be quite hazardous. I would, given the amount of complaints there, I would, think the transportation agency in the U.S. should consider requiring Tesla to disable all of that automated systems, because it is extraordinarily dangerous, in my opinion.
What was that?
And
one thing I want to point out is just calling it autopilot, I think, should be subject to some kind of legal action, because
Yes.
what an autopilot is the kind of thing that you can set and then walk away from, right? Like, if you autopilot is a thing that airplanes have.
like on airplanes.
And when it's set, you can go do things like go use the bathroom and come back, and you'll be fine, assuming that you've calculated your route and your fuel.
You're
and
away
everything
from
correctly.
that scenario.
Yeah,
But
that is not the case.
the owner has
autopilot at all.
claimed that eventually you'll be able to, like, drive from San Francisco to New York, all automated, blah blah blah. It's going to be all safe thing up there, and it's so far from that process.
When
with regards
that's
to
possible, then we can call it autopilot. Until then, that's a misnomer. And here's a great thing. You know how long Elon Musk has been saying that he would be, say, have a Hyperloop, or that he'd be putting, Tesla trucks on the streets. Almost every promise that Elon Musk has ever made, he's been making for about a decade or so, with little to no progress to show on any of it.
I know
And
this
he's
just for the hype.
I know this joke is
very
going to
few people that call him
kind
a
of
task.
accidentally lead us into the next topic too early, but that really doesn't sound very good for DeSantis. Anyway, go on.
So
Foreshadowing.
in my opinion, and I'm not a financial advisor, but in my opinion, even though Tesla stock is running around $200 a share, I would think a fair value is somewhere in the $10 a share range. I think it is still over. And the problem with it is that Musk has used the tulip mania level price of Tesla as a means to fund some of his other miscreant stuff that he does, such as rockets that blow up and little LED lit tunnels inside Las Vegas and so forth.
That
to
boring
do stupid
company
things, right?
that definitely wasn't just a scam.
And so that's one of the things. So Tesla as a company has distorted the electric car market, right? I'm avoiding buying an electric car until Tesla is essentially the DeLorean of or the Corvair type thing.
So apparently
it's in the
breach happened in Germany. And they're saying that Tesla's way of storing such data may have looked rather nonchalant. And the person who leaked it and told the press, Tesla's calling it data theft.
It probably is.
I mean,
however,
it
exposes the fact that I think, I would think that there's enough evidence to have massive recalls on this stuff, let alone. So folks, don't buy a Tesla. If you have a Tesla, get rid of it, or certainly don't park it there. Please don't drive it, and see what it is. A really bad electric vehicle run by a person with poor impulse control, using your money to do a bunch of other bad things, right? So until Tesla becomes the third rate sort of thing that it might, it really is. The electric car industry is still going to suffer from it, and road hazards will still suffer from it, and the market will suffer from it as well. So
this kind of reminds me the whole Elizabeth and the Theranos stuff that was happening. There were a couple of whistleblowers who went to FDA about the information, and then also Theranos was trying to say, oh, they're stealing our technology. It's a company secret. It's like company exclusive property. We are not going to unveil what happens behind the scenes. They were using the same exact reason, and we see what happened. But over here, Tesla is going a step further. In Theranos, I think so. There was a lot of emotional damage that was inflicted upon people, but physical damage was avoided. But here, we are now waiting for not only emotional damage to happen, but physical damage also, and it will not just and it will be devastating. Yeah, when a car crashes and there's a family in it, yeah, we know how that affects everyone in that family and that neighborhood or even that county, if something like that happens. And then at the same time, you have transport companies on the road that are transporting dangerous goods and chemicals.
Yeah.
And look
On
at
the
what
same
Tesla
road.
does to try and hide the defects, to try and tell their people, do it by voice only, don't put stuff in writing, and avoid bringing forward safety matters that consumer type organizations can look at. And then look at the overvalued price. It is a really bad thing. But there are countries that are catching on to it. I mean, I was pleased to see in Australia, Australians, someone who's driving a Tesla, and there's certain Australians who will call it a C-mobile, where C is a word we're not allowed to use.
Vegri makes a really good point. They said, SpaceX has a lot of problems when you start digging, frankly, and it's like, yes, because this is a problem with Musk. It's all of the companies. It's everything.
It's the leadership.
PayPal has issues. Tesla has issues. SpaceX has issues. The boring garbage has issues. Twitter is falling apart. Everything this man touches is just garbage.
And
Musk is probably the least competent to understand manufacturing. He's the least competent in the space stuff. When people say, "What?" But he's done those things like, no, having a heavy object being launched into space has been done since the late 50s. Having a rocket that can land and take off again. What do you think the Apollo landings did and come back? That was a usable rocket that came back. But he does it. He makes these wild claims, and SpaceX. Sadly, you, the American taxpayer, are funding that thing.
Oh, yes.
It's not some entrepreneurial thing.
Yes.
It is a taxpayer-funded stuff where he's going to drift off of the thing.
What you're missing, though, is that this time, the heavy object was a cool red car with a space guy mannequin in it. That has not been done before. We got to keep this in perspective.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah.
There's a little bit more in here. That's the files include thousands of complaints and descriptions of crashes allegedly from customers. So there is probably going to be a little bit more as this information comes out. There's going to be a little bit more or less that gets ended up added to it as we go, because they're going to go and confirm what they can and what they can't confirm out of this much data, right?
Yes.
So it says in an article titled "My Autopilot Almost Killed Me," Handelsblatt. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's German. I did my best.
Yeah, Germany's chaos.
Handelsblatt, probably.
Thanks, Landon.
I would say.
It said it received 100 gigabytes of data and 23,000 files, including 3,000 entries about customer safety concerns and descriptions of more than 1,000 crashes. The complaints covers Tesla manufacturing from 2015 to March of 2022. The files contain more than 2,400 complaints about sudden acceleration and more than 1,500 complaints about brake problems, including unintentional emergency braking and so-called phantom stops when the car suddenly brakes for no apparent reason.
Oh, shit.
So here's the
imagine that happening in the middle of a highway. Oh my god.
Yeah, but also beyond.
Yeah.
And yes, Maanyaa, and beyond that, what isn't reported is a even order to do more of events where the car does erratic things and the driver brings into control. You can watch at a safe distance behind there of a Tesla doing odd things because essentially the driver has to go in and correct it to keep it from doing something bad.
And because
But look
Landon jumped ahead,
Oh.
Tesla systematically avoids communicating with customers in writing.
Yeah. Why do they do that? Because the man with poor impulse control knows he's legally liable. I would like to see a lawyer bring some class action lawsuits against Tesla to hold it accountable.
Oh, I think there's
Employees
a very good chance that's
yeah.
And if we find that these cars are fundamentally flawed and dangerous, to get them recalled.
Yeah. Employees are instructed that unless lawyers are involved, they should not send written versions of their reviews, but pass it on verbally to the customer. Do not copy and paste the report below into an email, text message, or leave it in a voicemail to a customer. The guideline says, according to the article. So, like, don't even leave a voicemail if you can avoid it. Get one-to-one because it's likely people aren't recording.
Yeah.
They never
Because
sent
those
emails,
calls,
everything was always verbal. The article quoted a California doctor who said her Tesla accelerated on its own in the fall of 2021 and crashed into 2 concrete pillars.
holy shit.
Yeah.
This is what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. Oh, yeah.
And,
But
and,
no,
and
you
so,
know,
and
but
go ahead.
actually,
Go
Elon
ahead.
Musk is doing us a favor. We are learning real-time programming as we are driving this car at the expense of our life.
So
Yeah,
Tesla-
here's one thing.
and so,
You know that thing that when you call customer service and it says, "Hey, this call may be monitored for training purposes or whatever." Yeah, that's a two-way street. You can let customer service people know that they're being recorded, and it seems like
Yes.
at least if you're on the phone with customer service for Tesla, or I would say, based on this, any Musk-owned property, maybe you should let the person know immediately. Oh, hey, this is being recorded, and don't let that be a lie. Actually,
Yeah.
record the call.
Yeah, because that's what
now-
the customer services do. They let you know that your call is being recorded for training purposes. So I think so. You should return the favor.
most car companies, if they had like 5 reports of brakes seizing up, would
Be a recall.
first of all notify transition authorities of this issue and consider. And then they would look at the manufacturing data to say, oh, these things happened during this particular plant line manufacturing run. Let's do a recall of all those vehicles in case they have a similar problem.
As someone who
But
worked in
what Tesla does
manufacturing,
is they avoid unless they're mandated by law, they avoid explaining just how bad these cars are. And again, if you are a Tesla car owner, I'm sorry, but you are part of the problem. And and Tesla has again distorted the electric car market in terms of price because these things are overpriced, overhyped. Eye candy that's in Silicon Valley speak of stuff. But they're enormously unreliable, unsafe by a company whose value is extraordinarily overhyped, who's run by a person who has poor impulse control that uses that fake value to go and fund other terrible things.
Tesla has a long history of trying to cover up its customer complaints about safety problems. As far back as 2016, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration had to announce that customers were allowed to publicize safety issues after reports that Tesla was requiring customers to sign non-disclosure agreements.
Yes.
What the fuck?
To qualify
Yes.
To qualify
That's
for
same as Theranos all over again. This is something waiting to happen for us. Sorry, Chesh. Sorry.
Yes, fine. And by the way, prior to this thing, I talked to a Tesla owner who's confirmed to me. She said, yes, in order for my car to be under a warranty repair, I had to sign an NDA, and I can't talk about it.
And this is for suspension systems.
Here's a quick thing. Now, first, I'm not offering legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. If you need legal advice, please get a lawyer licensed in your jurisdiction. No, I'm not. I only know of one legally licensed dinosaur lawyer, and it's legal, and I'm not him. But anyway,
I get it.
And NDAs are notoriously full of exceptions under which they are no longer enforceable.
Applicable,
Yes.
So, if you have to sign an NDA and you would like to talk about it, my suggestion would be find a lawyer to consult with about the NDA, because there is a very good chance that, especially in cases like public safety or if you suspect that there's a crime, that in fact that NDA will not be enforceable, and that you can actually get a judge to rule that way, and you can speak about it. Hey, Benson chat.
3, Tesla threatened legal action over the leak. Of course they did. That I don't think there's any surprise that they're going to call it data theft and they're going to do this and they're going to do that.
I mean, to be fair, it probably is data theft.
That is always the case when it comes to whistleblowers, though. Almost every time there's a whistleblower in a company, there is always that company will take legal action against them. So.
And there are laws that protect whistleblowers. So and also to all the fucking these idiots and YouTubers out there who want to want their partners or something like that, or the people they have worked in the past, Illuminati Blair, want them to sign an NDA. You're full of shit. You're full of shit. It will not hold up. Fuck off.
Yeah, it really won't. There are things that NDAs will hold up for, but generally speaking,
some things.
Illegal crap or like unsafe crap, it's probably not going to hold up.
So to understand, by the way, I'm not a lawyer as well. On a completely different topic with a product which they said sign this NDA and we will, service things. What I did was I took the NDA, I put it out on a public site. And then said, nice. Is this the thing you want me to sign? Please verify that and let me know. It's something. And they decided they didn't want to do an NDA. Now, I'm not a lawyer. That's not legal advice. That's not legal advice. But typically, NDAs don't have. I mean, if you're really clever and you have like companies that are really secretive, you have a general NDA that then that covers the people involved, so that the NDAs that are specific are covered in an NDA. But if you are a consumer in a company, you can publish the NDA they want you to sign and ask for people to comment on it. And the company might, but that's not legal advice. Consult a lawyer.
Yeah. I think so. It's all about the intent, isn't it? If you can establish that you didn't do it with any wrong intent, the law will not come after you. But if you publish something with wrong intent, like Amber Heard, then you have legal options.
There's also there's specific ways that you need to do this type of thing and quote unquote release information, right? So as far as I know, this person specifically released the information to the press and didn't just publicize people's personal information. Right? As far as I know, they gave the information to the press, showed how that was the case, then the press went through and put out what the press could and could not put out.
Redacted stuff.
Right, redacted information. So because Velvet made a really good point in the chat, said, was this a whistleblower or a whistleblower? Because if they go through the proper channels, they'll be protected. And it's going to be a fight, but it will be a fight every single time. So
and sometimes it doesn't, in some ways it doesn't matter whether this person is a whistleblower or not. The issue, I think, is Tesla, the safety to people that are not Tesla owners, the lack of accountability for Tesla, the lack of consumer reports. Because go to something like Consumer Reports or Car and Driver and try to find where Tesla rates in the scheme of reliable cars, and they'll frequently tell you we don't have enough information because Tesla is not forthcoming on their product safety and reliability.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust a company like that. Nope.
One thing I want to say quickly about the whole, the company's going to try and go after whistleblowers is they're actually legally obligated to do that. The actual management is legally required to do things like that because that's part of their fiduciary duty to their investors, which is something, by the way, that a certain someone who might own a number of companies that we might be talking about is currently in trouble for because he's being sued by some investors for breach of fiduciary duty. Weird.
Final thing I would say for this part of the Tesla is check out a YouTube channel by Thunderfoot where it's zeros rather than O's.
Oh yes.
This person has lots of information, useful information, and facts to back it up regarding the Elon Musk and his poor impulse control processes,
as well as every reason you could ever think of to know that Hyperloop is dumb and not happening.
Yeah.
I think so.
So
You should go to Japan actually and look at the technology there, or South Korea, or even like countries like these, and the companies that are based in countries like these that they are trying to achieve. Like we have got bullet trains, if I'm not wrong. So next thing they will be trying to achieve, like how far they can, push the technology. That's how it's done
Yeah, but Maanyaa,
safely.
bullet trains are too safe. They're too efficient. We need
Oh, okay.
giant death trap vacuum tubes through the desert that go in individual little pods, so you can't link them all together for some kind of energy saving. That's crazy. We need tiny little vacuum tubes that are tiny in terms of cross section, but just gigantic. So there's no way you could ever actually maintain a vacuum in them. Going all across the country, traveling with like 4 people max per pod for maximum inefficiency. That's what we really need as a society.
part of the problem with Tesla is that there's an issue when it comes to whether or not the regulators can or will do anything about Elon Musk and his crappy decision making when it comes to a company, because as we can see here in 2021 the NHTSA dismissed similar customer complaints about unintended acceleration and blamed driver error. I'm sure you have all heard stories about how, well, people who are just driving Teslas just are getting user errors. Basically, it's the user that's fucking it up. It's definitely not the car.
I don't know how is that possible, because okay, so now they're recording the errors that's coming up in the software as user errors. That's so dishonest at this time. Like, that's so dishonest, and you're telling your customer, I don't trust you, so I'm gonna put it this way. Forklifts. They have such systems where they can tell you whether it was a user error or was it a software error or was it both. They have systems like that. But they are like honest, and the coding, the coding is correct and accurate and tested. Here it looks like it's been disingenuously and dishonestly, the programming has been modified for anything that the program or the AI messes up to be put in as user error. And that's like, I'm going to raise my hand up, because in future, if an accident happens and Tesla says, oh, the record says user error, you're going to end up paying for that lawsuit. So yeah.
All right, so I'm just going to burn through these 3 points real fast because they're all kind of the same point. Several United States safety regulators' investigations into Tesla have been continuing for years, including an inquiry into an apparent tendency for Tesla cars to crash into fire trucks, ambulances, and police cars parked on highways with their lights flashing. The California Department of Motor Vehicles is investigating whether the name of Tesla's $15,000 full self-driving option violates state law and its own regulations against marketing vehicles as autonomous when they are not. And in China, regulators are already taking action. And just 2 weeks ago, Tesla was forced to issue an urgent software update on almost every vehicle it has sold in China to address problems with the unintended sudden acceleration.
Mm-hmm. Where was it? Sorry?
Hey, a rare win for the Chinese government.
China. I'm not surprised. It's China. Well, if China can do it, why not us? It's about time we protected the consumers in this regard, because this is bullshit. Absolute bullshit.
But yeah, that's basically what's been going on with Tesla, and I can only imagine that ends up being pretty good for Elon Musk and Twitter. This is what I mean when I say like, because Elon is like the owner of Twitter, all of this shit that happens on Twitter is going to affect all of these other companies, and all of these other companies are going to affect Twitter, particularly because of the way he went about acquiring Twitter.
And it comes down to, with that money he got from an overhyped value of Tesla, he used to then go and acquire Twitter with loans from other people. Because, right enough, Elon Musk is actually not that rich.
No.
He has a lot of paper wealth.
It's true.
But actual cash is limited. Yeah, he does. In fact, he typically doesn't if you're a landlord on Twitter stuff. And also, in firing the Twitter staff, or most of it, he actually brought over some people from Tesla to try to run the show inside Twitter. So if you're a Tesla owner, I'm sorry, consider getting a different vehicle. If you're considering a Tesla, please don't. And if you are somebody who it's similar sort of thing, because again, these are walking disaster area. We'll see with the case of Twitter. My recommendation is don't use Twitter. I don't think it's a platform you want to be associated with. I know, like the Sea Contest, we've gone and expunged Twitter, all this stuff. We don't want to be associated with essentially stuff because the stuff that man touches tends to turn into poo. Unfortunately, in the U.S., we have this worship of people who claim to be wealthy, right? Somebody who's a multi-billionaire is put up in status, high status, and we guide them godlike powers when it's.
The thing is that what people like Elon Musk and Andrew Tate sell is the dream of becoming one of them. That's what they sell. And that's what they get. That's how they get all the sponsorships and all the investors. That was same with Theranos. And people don't realize that in this world there will be Elon Musk's and Andrew Tate and Murdoch and all that stuff. But then for them to be them, there will be people who will be below them who will be doing it for them. So that disparity will be there. And if you want to see yourself there, that's fine in the future one day. But then to like really warp your reality and then start making stupid decisions around your finances, your life and shit, your relationships. Yeah, you're going. Yeah, you're not. You need to see a psychiatrist. If I'm not wrong.
That leads us to the next thing, right? Because it's not as simple as they just have money. It gets a little bit more complicated than that. Because guess who's getting extra benefits from the government? DeSantis signs a bill shielding Musk's SpaceX from spaceflight entity liability. The Florida governor's signature comes a day after the 2024 presidential campaign announcement on Twitter.
Isn't that special?
Who could have foreseen this?
What's the title?
SpaceX is a taxpayer subsidized, unlike NPR, entity that has a very poor space track record. That on the other hand is one of the only few rocket companies that has its employees cheer when their stuff blows up.
Yeah, right. Because
I understand.
He built the blowing up of rockets as part of like the appeal to it.
Yeah. We accept responsibility when it goes wrong, except Tesla. Yeah.
When was the last time we saw such like flat out blatantly just out in the public political corruption?
Trump.
Well, not that long ago.
Not that long ago.
One thing I want to say about the rocket explosion is not only is Tesla currently about to be sued for that, but so is various federal agencies that are in charge of doing things like safety and environmental impact assessments for planned rocket launches, because the damage done to the environment as well as to the safety of people in surrounding areas was considerably more than Mr. Space Jesus would lead you to believe.
Space Jesus.
So Florida man governor signed a bill regarding spaceflight on Thursday, just one day after he announced his presidential run in a glitch-filled interview with Elon Musk on Twitter Spaces.
Oh, yes, oh god, that was so funny. Sorry, I couldn't help it. That was so funny.
Go for it, Maanyaa.
Yeah, do it. Tell us all about it. Tell us everything about this situation.
Tell Elmo.
There was no interview. There was no announcement. It was just like Elon trying to speak and mumble, and then DeSantis just hopping on and hopping off because of some sort of error. That's what all it was. That's it. And if you want to like enjoy someone like messing up really, really bad, go and listen to that Twitter space. It's I don't know if it's there still, but it was
I don't know
glorious.
if you could have like such a blatant example of somebody who likes to pretend that you know what they're doing and then making an attempt to do it and then just falling flat on their face like they walked out drunk in the Applebee's and just landed straight to concrete.
Sorry, everybody's eardrums.
Two people will get that reference. DeSantis
Yes.
signed into law CS/SB 1318 Space Flight Entity Liability, along with 27 other bills. The law exempts, quote, space flight entity from liability, injury to, or death of crew resulting from space flight activities under certain circumstances. The measure also requires, quote, a space flight entity to have a crew sign a specific warning statement. So, like, this is the kind of shit that fucks over people who are, like, family members of the Challenger crew. That's what this is.
Yeah. And this is so selfish, and I guarantee you that Elon put a lot of funding behind DeSantis's the run as a president. He's going to donate a lot to that, and this is what lobbying is, and why the fuck people don't understand that this is wrong. This is like blatant, like this is like accepting bribery in the open, and just like saying, oh yeah, I got the money and I'm going to help this guy, and actually get a law in place to help this guy. Fuck my people. These are the harmful effects of capitalism for anyone who's
I would say even what happens is legal. What I would say to Governor Florida Man is that you failed to avoid the appearance of a conflict of interest. Right. Yeah. That's a standard that I hold people in public office to, is you need to avoid the appearance of conflict of interest. So if Governor Florida Man held at level, they would say, I'm going to recuse myself on this matter because I had the person show up on my platform. I want to show up on a platform for my political purpose. You would have distanced yourself, but that's not what happened. So even if it's legal, it's the failure to avoid the appearance of conflict of interest that I would criticize Governor Florida Man for.
Okay, so here's a fun thing about the Twitter Spaces, right? So, because it's not a very popular thing, if you don't know, Twitter Spaces is basically just voice chat on Twitter. I don't know why anyone would want such a thing, but it exists. It used to have a staff of about 100 working specifically on Spaces. It currently is reported to have a staff of 3, of whom none actually are familiar with the architecture of Twitter Spaces.
3?
Yes.
3.
Oh no.
And it has problems. I mean, what are they going to do with it? But this is because Mr. Poor Impulse Control goes and fires people that are capable of running the show. Now, Twitter was not in great shape prior to Mr. Poor Impulse Control buying it out with his overinflated Tesla stock, combined with loan from people like Saudis and other interesting folk.
The kind of people who like to do assassinations.
Yes, allegedly.
That's the way to put it.
So the issue with Twitter is that they have amassed a large, what we call technical debt, right? That there are systems, for example, that are logging stuff, which you normally need to go and purge the logs to keep them filling up. Disk drives that are failing, and so stuff dies from there because it's slowly decaying because Mr. Poor Impulse Control does not want to put in money in order to even just maintain the current status of it. My suggestion and my request is, please don't use Twitter. Stop using it. Stop using your account. Just.
Damn it, Chesh, you had
now, by the way, understand what I say. I distinguish between taking a web browser and consuming the resources, and you using your Twitter account. Please don't log into your Twitter account and tweet. Would be my request, right? If you want to take a URL of a Twitter thing and post it to laugh at something, fine. But please don't log into Twitter. Please don't tweet.
But Landon, how am I gonna find all my content?
Well, you can use search engines to look through Twitter and find stuff. But by the way, if you want to have content that's from Twitter, here's a trick. If you have a URL for Twitter, go to the Internet Archive and use that, because you're going to find that URLs there's certain particular URLs that are failing because they're losing storage, they're losing data archives, and so if you have someone's tweet or some message you like, go to the Internet Archive and find it and use that URL because that's going to be more reliable than that. But please log out of your Twitter account and don't log in, and you can consume stuff that's there.
Yeah.
But please don't contribute to the cesspool if you can help.
Velvet also makes a really good point. Listen, I don't want to have to watch fucking Vic Maanyaa directly. I just find clips on Twitter. But Velvet makes a really good point. Anyone with a Twitter account, please make sure that your associated email is at least one step away from your main email. Twitter will be hacked, and it's just a matter of when.
I have,
and don't use a password.
Never used my.
Don't.
You're gone.
Make sure your Twitter password has nothing to do with any. It's not even remotely associated with any of the other passwords you care about.
Yep.
Well,
I always use a very different email for my the email that I use for my work or for applying and for my bills and everything like that. It's very different from what I use on social media, and it also helps that my parents can't find me then.
Well, now I think it's a very good time to take our very first break, so we will be back.
Yes,
we are at the little bit past the hour mark, so everybody go to the bathroom, get your snacks, refill your drinks. We're going to take a quick, probably 3-minute break. During that time, I am posting a poll for you guys that you guys can now pick our next topic. We are either going to jump off of this and talk about DeSantis. We're basically pick a legal thing that we're going to talk about. We're either going to talk about DeSantis versus Disney, or we're going to talk about Trump's legal issues and how that may or may not affect his presidency running, as well as whether or not the Disney stuff is going to, and how that's going to affect DeSantis's bid for president. So, quick break. We're going to set ourselves on fire here, and we'll be back in a couple minutes.
Bye.
and welcome back, everybody. We made it. I hope everybody got your drink. I hope everybody got your snacks. I got some
Yes.
What snacks do people have?
I got a Mike's Hard Lemonade. Dapper, did your mic change while you were gone, or did you turn on a giant fan?
The AC ran.
You are incredibly loud all of a sudden.
Oh.
I just turned you down. It's fine.
Weird.
That was really strange.
Anything.
It's fine now.
Oh.
That was weird. Now it's
Okay.
fine. Okay, I'm not crazy. That happened.
Yeah, that
Okay,
happened.
but
I could hear that.
Anyway,
So
I got a Mike's Hard
what are
Lemonade,
people-
which is just I got
Ooh,
the
nice.
lime one. This is my least favorite out of the set that comes in the box of different variety flavors. You get 3 of each kind. You get a lemon one, you get a lime, you get a cranberry, and you get a black cherry. Black cherry is my favorite. Landon, what do you got?
So I have Australian Red Rock Jelly chips. These are really good. One of the things I like about it, although this is my sea salt is my least favorite of the set. This is courtesy of Red Eye, allegedly, who got me a bunch of these things, and I got to bring them back. The thing I like about them is that they're actually not full of sugar and salt. When you at the bottom of the bag, you won't find a pile of salt crystals. When you actually see a chip, they're not laden with salt stuff. Even if it's sea salt, they're actually baked and they have lots of nice flavor. They're not full of preservatives, so you open up a bag and you got to want to eat them that day or two because they don't sit there and not biodegrade because they're actually biological stuff. And even though this is like sea salt, it only has only 4% of your daily sodium intake if you were to go and eat this bag, right? They're relatively healthy. So I like some of the other stuff. They have lots of different flavors, and so Australian Red Rock Deli, you have good stuff. So yay!
What do you got, Maanyaa?
So I decided to reheat my coffee, but then I was like, yeah, it's boring. So I decided to put some oat milk in it and reheat it. I haven't tasted it yet, so hopefully I've not made a mistake.
Are you gonna try it for us and tell us right now?
It's nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Dapper,
When-
Dapper, what do you got going on?
I've got some ice water because it's been hot here. And I've also got some sriracha chicken on rice.
Ooh.
Yeah, which is more of a meal than a snack.
I
But I'm also hungry.
I made spicy teriyaki with well, it wasn't real teriyaki. I just had soy sauce and honey and mixed it together, and sriracha sauce and on stir fried veggie and rice yesterday. I'm thinking I'm gonna make it again.
Nice.
Yes,
didn't get a
yeah.
snack.
And I also have a clipper too, in case.
Hey.
All right.
So just before we head off, I just saw this on Twitter. Marjorie Taylor Greene voted along with every House Republican to overturn President Biden's student loan forgiveness plan and charge retroactive interest on everyone's paused payments, calling the plan unfair. Marjorie Taylor Greene had 183,000 in PPP loans forgiven. Yeah.
How are they gonna back charge everybody interest on? What the fuck? What they try to squeeze?
No, see, they're not going to have to do it. The people who own
Oh my god, Landon, that's so loud.
the people who own the loans, who own that debt, they're the ones who will calculate that for you. And if you dispute it, then sure, you can bring that to the government. But I promise you that no one in Congress is expecting anyone in the government to sit down and calculate how much interest you owe.
Oh, of course.
Oh,
not.
how much pressure you're putting people under? What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, do you know how much
this was shit they couldn't afford anyway?
People can get into depression and mentally unwell because of finances being so variable, and we know
this
that
is
student
Marjorie
debt
Taylor Greene, though. She doesn't think
Fucking
depression
asshole.
is real. Like,
oh fuck my life. In New Zealand, you can take student loans, and you have to return them, obviously, but they don't charge any interest on them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it's done here. So
It goes back to this problem that the GOP has, which is that
How Christian of her.
fundamentally the GOP has a big problem in America. They have a base that wants wildly unpopular things and will refuse to vote for them in both primary elections as well as, to a lesser extent, in general elections, unless they pander to that base. But the problem, again, is that the things that base wants are fundamentally unpopular, generally speaking, right? Like, most of the United States, when asked, doesn't want to, like, ban trans people from bathrooms or get rid of any book that mentions the word gay or penis. They don't want to, say, negate any idea of student loan forgiveness because their student loans are very unpopular.
I tell you where this base comes from. This base comes from, again, that they support capitalism in a very, very counterintuitive way.
It's not that. It's people voting along party lines because of the branding.
Yeah, that's why, and the branding, where I'm telling you where this thinking is coming on, that if you don't work for it, you don't deserve it. That's where that thinking comes from. Like for student loans, for example, why are you getting these student loans getting, paid off or what do you say?
Forgiven.
Forgiven. Fuck my life. Forgiven. You have to work and you pay it off. That's what the ideology is. And it's so destructive. It's so destructive. Yeah. There, I said it. And this is all that feeds into the thing, like where they say, "Oh, I will see myself at that level that other person is, if I work for work hard and blah 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 blah." It's all
like
that
lifestyle.
Delusional. Yeah, it's all that delusional world they have created around themselves, and have no empathy and regard for people that are less fortunate than them.
So speaking of Republicans, the majority voted because we do a little bit of democracy here. It's mostly me dictating, but once in a while we get a little bit of democracy in here, and we talk about DeSantis versus Disney, yeah, whatever their name is. Now I got problems with Disney. I got problems with Disney.
It's not easy for me to get me to,
Let's go.
Yeah, it's not easy to get most of us here, I think, on Disney's side, but somehow,
right? I don't think any of us are exactly like Disney fans of corporate Disney. You know what I mean?
Certain Disney properties, yeah, sure, but Disney as a company, generally no. Yeah.
So basically, the updates for that is a disagreement that started as saber rattling. Oh, that's a nice way to put dick swinging.
Nice.
Where it seemed like the dispute would be public and ugly, but have no real consequences. Even when DeSantis moved to take over Disney's Reedy Creek Improvement District, which I've talked about before. I've actually read through that entire document if you want to go see that. Originally seemed like a cosmetic gesture given the moves Disney made before its leadership of the district was taken away. Basically, Disney neutered the leadership before DeSantis got a hold of it. Now, however, the battle between the two sides has intensified with multiple lawsuits being filed by each party. A federal lawsuit filed by Disney has been put on hold as DeSantis has filed a motion to disqualify Chief Judge Mark E. Waller, and Disney has fired back by filing its own motion to dispute the Republican governor's allegations. So DeSantis is trying to get rid of the judge that's been appointed for the job.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah, jazz hands!
And look, that's a fairly normal thing to do, right? A lot of people try to say, "Oh, we should get a different judge." It's pretty par for the course.
And
they say a different judge. They say we should get a judge that's going to be biased towards us. So we want a different judge.
So that's the goal, right? But the thing is that when you reassign a case, you don't get to pick the judge it gets reassigned to. So the way at least in the United States, the way cases are usually assigned by judges, right, is that there's a rotation. And if you're the next judge up to get a case in whatever jurisdiction you're a judge in, you just get the case. Now, if there's some reason you can't take it, like, for instance, if there's a conflict of interest, like maybe this judge owns a lot of Disney stock. Okay, that's a pretty good reason to switch judges, but it doesn't go to the judge of your choosing. It just goes to whoever currently has an open slot for a case in that rotation.
True.
It's not like they can't pick the Trump appointee DeSantis lover judge by just getting rid of this one judge. And look,
Yeah.
for all I know, maybe the current judge isn't the best one to try this. Maybe he does have a bunch of Disney stock. I don't know. That's why I don't have an opinion on should the judge be changed.
Yeah. Another thing that happens in general is they try to then have a change of venue, where they might say that the laws or the judges in this area are not as favorable, and so they have a better chance of a judge biased on their favor if they somehow can try to con the courts into moving it to a district which they think they have a better chance.
They would have a really hard time moving the district in this case. It's just Disney and Florida,
Exactly.
so I don't know where you're gonna go.
Yes. Well, but in general, that's the thing.
While requests like this are very common, they're also very rarely granted. It's pretty unusual for a judge who hasn't recused him or herself to then hand off the case to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unless they have proof that the judge has some vested interest, and that vested interest will influence his decision making. I don't think so.
Most judges will step down before that happens because they don't want it to harm their career.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's done, a trick that's done illegally, is if they can't get their way in terms of getting get a different judge, they let the court case go through, and if it doesn't end in their favor, on appeal
then
they say bad judge.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, look, that's just good legal strategy. You should be doing that if you're a lawyer who's trying to advocate zealously for their client. And I'm strongly of the opinion that everyone deserves competent and zealous advocacy from a lawyer in legal proceedings. So I'm not going to begrudge the state of Florida doing normal legal things.
Don't go to Elaine, please.
But what's happening here is that Governor Florida Man's shtick is culture wars, right? He wants to take a segment of people who might be mad that Disney had a certain minority as a lead animated character on some cartoon.
Governor Florida Man is way too attached to an underage teenage girl who happens to be a fish.
So you know what happened was that a part of his shtick is culture wars, right? And when you come down to saying, okay, besides culture wars, what policies do you have? What policies do you advocate? Because that's I think it's one of his issues.
The thing is, though, doesn't he just make the culture war is his political stance? Because he makes these things that aren't really political into political issues.
And so
human beings have access to bathrooms in public spaces isn't a political issue until they make it a political issue.
Yeah.
And so they try to sit there and say something like, well, your child will be subjected to a pervert in the bathroom unless me issues executive orders, right? And oftentimes his executive orders to quote, try to kill woke culture are things that are not legal or things that have no legal effect, right? So he'll sign an order saying, naughty people can't go to the bathroom.
If I may, this whole bathroom thing is becoming dangerous now, because now even girls are getting, harassed by
even girls, strangers. As if girls weren't getting harassed the whole time. None of this is about protecting women.
For this particular issue.
Here's how I will take Ron DeSantis seriously, that his attempts to stop certain people from using bathrooms are about saving the children. Until the ban extends to Catholic clergymen, I don't believe
or
you.
Guns. Or guns.
So ask yourself, what policies besides his war on woke culture does Ron DeSantis stand for? Right?
Well, he's been watching
what
the
actually
quartering.
accomplished?
He's been watching the quartering, so he's got to be mad at woke Disney.
So
at least he's not growing up a quartering beard.
Yet.
We also know from his behavior that Governor Florida Man has a really big vindictive streak, right? If you cross him, if you're a reporter that says something bad about him, he has a long memory and will come out and will insult you. Will be because he holds grudges really well.
Yeah.
He is vindictive like Trump, but he's not stupid like Trump, if I may dare say.
I think it's less about
That's a very good point.
I think it's a little bit less about stupidity and more back to what Landon was saying about impulse control. Trump is
Yeah.
older and doesn't give a shit and has no impulse control.
Yeah, like,
whereas
I'm gonna die
DeSantis
anyways.
has he thinks he has a longer political career ahead of him, so he's a little bit more apt at navigating how to say things in a way, because he also wants both sides of the Republican Party to agree with him. He wants all of the Trump people to agree with him, and he wants all the people who are frustrated with Trump to agree with him. So he needs to walk this really, really thin tightrope to try to say stupid shit like woke Disney, because Disney is not woke. We know this for a fact, because there are numbers that line up with that. You can actually
Disney is
go
exactly
through...
as woke.
Right.
Disney is exactly as woke as it is profitable to be.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful.
Which is straight in line with, like, GOP, what the GOP wants. They just want this woke stuff to be less popular.
Yeah.
Or
They
people
want it to
not
be less
being able
profitable.
to... Yeah, because then it's easier to control people. And then that's how they will supply uneducated or less educated, labor for their capitalist friends, like in Amazon,
So how do you
and
think
Apple.
that this lawsuit can or will affect DeSantis' presidential bid?
I don't think
I
it'll
think
affect the
DeSantis
presidential
likes
bid.
it. I think he likes it because it gives him national prominence for being one of those people going after quote woke culture, right?
Disney's
it
very
is playing
large.
into his
He's
hands.
like taking on the big man as if he's
Yeah.
like not the bully in this
Yeah.
scenario.
This is
Because
just
it's harder
his
for
attempt...
him to.
Sorry, this is just his attempt to capture the attention of the what do you say, the collegiate? What's that? The people who actually vote in the end for the presidential thing.
Oh, you're talking
Electoral
about
college.
the electoral college.
Electoral. Yeah, this is to grab the attention of the Republicans in the electoral college. That's what this is for.
Well,
So
And
I, so
they don't
so
get to just choose to vote for him if someone else won, right? So legally,
yeah. By the way,
the electoral college
yes.
is required to vote for whoever their state actually has certified as the winner. So it has happened in the past that people have gone against this, and they generally aren't terribly severely punished. However, it's never been the case that enough of them have gone against this to actually even potentially affect the outcome of a election. At most, one or two electors have thrown in, they're called poison electors, and one or two have thrown in some random other name. Like I think, what was it? The Green Party once got an electoral college vote because the person who was already pledged to vote for the person who lost the election was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to vote for the lady running for the Green Party. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Well, let's say that you agree with Governor Florida Man on his social, his social issues, his social war issues,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, what would Governor Florida Man as president actually do? What does he stand for? What is his foreign policies? What is his economic policies? What is domestic policies? Besides, doing presidential proclamations saying bad things about wokeism, right? What would he
besides
actually do?
causing as much collateral damage as possible while peacocking?
I think I have an idea as to what it would be. So I think it would end up being basically the same as Trump, which is to say that whatever sycophants happen to be in the room at the time who care enough to produce some kind of policy would become Ron DeSantis' policy for as long as they're in the room.
Yeah.
Which was basically what Trump's policies were, right? He didn't come up with any of the policies he had. He had someone else in the room who was willing to suck him off hard enough that he would agree with them. And that's all it was.
Yeah, that's what happened all the time, yes.
And that's not just me saying that. Numerous people who were in his administration have written books, given interviews, made statements to that effect, that Trump didn't have his own policies. He had people around him who were advisors, and if they were sycophantic enough and in the room at the time, their policies became his for as long as it stroked his ego for that to be the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's this big issue with current politics, and it's not just an American thing. This is like a planet-wide thing where neither party is actually discussing things that matter. And I don't mean to say that like trans issues don't matter. They absolutely matter. But these are not like political issues in the way that these people are presenting them. They're presenting them as, like Landon said, a culture war. They're presenting these as if, like, he's gonna go into office and sign a bill about having to get your genitals checked when you go into a public bathroom. Like, no. So, if he's having this war with Disney over woke, this is why nobody can define what is wokeism, what is the woke mind virus, because it doesn't matter what the woke mind virus actually is or isn't, or even whether or not it exists, because it's a conspiracy theory. The whole point is to stir people up, make them care about something that doesn't exist, so that way he can do whatever the fuck he wants, because you're not paying attention to the shit that matters. And the shit that matters is the trans stuff that's going through Congress, the trans bills that are going through the House, the trans like whatever the governor is signing in his district that's fucking over trans people. Not whatever dumb shit this guy's arguing about with Disney. Go ahead, Maanyaa.
So this is on the Chesh, if you remember, this is on the same lines of how CRT, critical race theory, was twisted to make something about to make it look like, it's racism towards white people because they're saying that white people are racist, and they changed the branding overnight. And there were some like individuals who somehow couldn't see that. I'm like, what? Like, you like again, couldn't even go and pick up a dictionary to look at the what CRT is.
It's peacocking, and it's peacocking by causing as much damage as possible to make it seem like you to try to drag your attention, because what matters is the actual bills that are being signed. What matters is the actual systemic problem, not whatever dumbass shit this dude is gonna argue with Disney about something that doesn't even actually matter, because Disney doesn't give a shit, and DeSantis doesn't give a shit. Neither of them actually care. What they're doing is fucking you over directly because you're too busy paying attention to what this motherfucker is saying instead of actually showing up and voting and looking at the actual bills and their wording and what's going through.
Yes, baby.
Yes.
They're very good point, Chesh.
I'm saying that trans issues and gender issues and gay people's issues matter more than whatever Disney and DeSantis are doing,
because they feed into all the human rights issues. Okay, cool.
Right, exactly.
So the people like Governor Florida Man who are doing the woke goes to die, and the people he's attacking, the so-called woke crowd, are actually codependent, right? So there are so-called woke people who depend upon Governor Florida Man making outrageous pronouncements, so they can in turn get their own bit of shtick out of it, right? Meanwhile, when issues are regarding the economy, regarding safety, regarding schools, regarding other things that are important, go undealt with, because they're spending too much time with all these sort of woke, anti-woke, eye candy stuff, right? And so, Chesh, I thought you very good point you made.
It's a distraction. The whole thing is ultimately a distraction, and how much news. Well, okay, so here's the thing. It's not that it does. It's not that it doesn't matter at all. It's that it's a distraction. It matters that the government is trying to infringe upon someone's right to criticize the government. That is a thing that matters, right? However, if this is getting so much coverage, but not this bill that he signed about Elon Musk and SpaceX?
Yeah.
Like, this bill and what is actually written in this bill right here, this one right here, Bill 20 signs 27 bills in one day, and who knows what's in these bills, and where is the news coverage of, he signed fucking 27 bills, and here's what's in all of them, and we're gonna do a 24-hour fucking news cycle talking about everything involved in this, and what it does, and what it means, and what it expects. No. Disney.
Yeah. Little Mermaid.
And so you can imagine Governor Floridman as president doing like his State of the Nation, spending 2/3 of the time decrying the culture wars, right? And
the
not
woke
what
mind
needs to be done.
virus. This thing that doesn't
Right?
exist.
And then the opposition would turn around and decry the MAGA group, but they're both the same thing. They really are the same thing, codependent, and yet not addressing things that
There are
actually
people
matter to
actually-
society, as opposed to little
Yeah.
niche things, right?
There are people that are getting killed. There are people that their schools are getting shot up. There are public safety and human rights violations going on both within the country and at the border of the country. There's also like whatever is happening globally, and this is because then you've got major public safety issues and breach of privacy issues between Facebook and Twitter and Tesla and this, that, and the other thing, and these are and you've got somebody who is like gonna run for your presidency signing bills for the guy who's selling your information and leaking your fucking information. Like, what?
Nani the fuck?
So there are
worse than
on
that, the GOP see this guy as the alternative to the orange-haired, narcissist, right?
It's a show. They're putting on a show, and they're putting on a show. Oh, don't look at the man behind the curtain. Don't look at these bills that are actually getting passed. Don't notice that the number of bills that have been passed recently are like the number of anti-trans bills has skyrocketed in the last couple of years. Don't pay attention to that. And then meanwhile, you've got the fucking whatever group, be the fucking Bidenator, going around being like, don't vote for Orange Man.
And you know, trying to vilify a whole community on the basis of what a few are doing. Like there's this thing that's been going around on Twitter, like children getting exposed to the bars where our gay community I think so they dance and stuff, and they're getting exposed to that, and that involves nudity and all that stuff. Yeah, that's a good issue to talk about. That's what we need to talk about. If we want to protect children that way, yes, let's go that.
Yeah, why is your kid in a bar?
No, I guess they're going after the parents also who are arranging this.
That's what I mean. Like, if you're gonna talk about the safety of children, you need to talk about the behavior of the parents, not about the behavior of the people that are just existing.
That were hired to do this.
Right, that is not on them. That's on who's taking their child to the unsafe place in the first place. Are you going to bar children from bars? Because that might also be a problem, because if you ban anybody from a bar that's under a specific age, that's going to ruin your sports bar industry.
Yeah. Now the media and the main large part of the media loves this stuff because it is clickbaity. It gets you the product in front of the advertisers to have ads put in front of you, right? They see someone like Governor Florida Man as really good business because he'll say outrageous things which they can have hyperventilate over, either positive or negative, right? Meanwhile, you have a problem of there's a Cold War. The Cold War has restarted, and really bad things happening with that Cold War. There is an economic crisis going on. There's a potential for U.S. going into default. There is some problems with the planet and resources and so forth that are not being discussed because people instead are talking about, should Disney have a particular character on this show that upsets these people or is a token for these other folks, right?
Yeah, I'm specifically picking on the amount of media attention this is getting, and the amount of attention, like CNN having Trump on and just letting him fucking spew bullshit. Which, by the way, he's getting sued again by the person he just lost to for repeating the same shit on CNN. So, like, what the
Maybe
fuck?
that was the plan. Maybe that was the plan.
There's this whole other thing,
CNN's
right?
plan.
Where, thanks CNN, they needed the help. There's this
Dabber.
whole issue. There's this whole issue where you have whether or not, at the end of the day, people are the people that matter, and the government's supposed to be there to do things for the people. DeSantis and Disney isn't about the people. It's not. And Savage brought up a decent point in the chat and said it doesn't matter until one of, like, DeSantis's crazy sycophants shows up and shoots up Disney. Yeah, I agree. Because now you have a whole different thing. Now you're talking about some, like, January 6th shit. And now you've got something else you're talking about human rights violations, which we're not, when it comes to Disney, that's not what this is. On the other hand, you have Governor Florida Man and his book issues, and his education issues, and the issues
on the other hand,
right?
Sorry, my voice just went. And on the other hand, the age for children to be able to enter into workforce is being reduced down now to 14.
Yep.
Like, I know more about America. I'm from New Zealand. Why? Like, what? Why? That's what I'm talking about. Republicans wanting to have uneducated or less educated, like, labor force for their capitalist friends. That's what this is about. Fuck my life. Children.
Speaking of which.
I saw that one.
Remember that time the TikTok guy was like, hey, how come you're not going after all these other social media websites for their data or privacy violations?
So this group of people, if you use their platform, you're the product that's being sold to advertisers, and your existence and your thing is being monetized. That's how this free platform makes money off of you, right? And so the EU has regulations that says no.
One last thing before I move on from the DeSantis thing. People's lives matter more than the show that DeSantis is putting on. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And people's lives matter more than the anti-MAGA crowd, right?
And people's lives matter more than whatever amount of money Zuckerberg is getting paid. So industry representatives argue the ruling creates legal uncertainty for many companies who commonly transfer data across international waters. Good.
Actually, in New Zealand, I deal with privacy stuff also. So the Privacy Act says that you're allowed to share data if, and to the extent the law allows, if the other country has data safety or a way to protect data at the same level or higher than New Zealand. If the company or whatever the country doesn't have like same standards for privacy or private data management or protection, you're not allowed to share data unless there are exceptional circumstances. So
oftentimes, if a certain country, like let's say New Zealand, has laws that are inconvenient, they'll just have a mirrored server in another country where it is anything goes, and they sell it that way, right? As a way of run until they get caught.
Laundering data. Here we go.
The European Union fined Meta a record $1.3 billion on Monday after finding Facebook parent company broke its privacy laws by transferring user data from Europe to the United States, one of the most impactful penalties from the EU rules, which could have broad implication for American businesses. The Irish Data Protection Commission ordered Meta to suspend all transfers of personal data belonging to users in the EU and the European Economics Area, which includes non-EU countries, Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway, to the United States. The Irish Data Protection Commission said in a statement that Meta's data transfers were in breach of the EU's General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, rules that restrict what companies can do with people's personal data. It is the largest GDPR fine handed down by the bloc, surpassing the previous record of 887 million against Amazon, a penalty issued in 2021 by European privacy regulator that the firm said it would appeal.
That's already a pretty big jump there. That's
nice.
I mean, what was it? 1.2 billion or
1.3?
Yeah, that's more than 50% increase over the previous record.
Yep.
That's a big deal.
And to the surprise of nobody. Sorry, go ahead, Landon. You go first.
Go ahead. I
was going to say, to the surprise of nobody, the ruling attracted widespread criticism from industry representatives who argue that it exacerbates the legal uncertainty facing a wide range of companies who send data across international waters.
Why are you being so dramatic, man? You spoiled everything.
Exacerbate, is that like a portmanteau of exacerbate and masturbate? Is that what's happening?
No, exacerbate is a word. Okay.
Exacerbate is a word, but exacerbate is less of a word.
I added a T in there.
Oh. Went right over my head.
The question
now we can tell what Chesh is really thinking about.
I mean, that's all these guys are doing is just fapping and then just jizzing all over everybody, and nobody's happy about it. But is 1.3 a large enough number that it actually matters to Meta? Because that's the question I always ask. When a major company gets fined, but when a major company gets fined, like, if they get fined $1.3 billion, yeah, that's going to sound like a lot of money to me and you, but is that actually a lot of money to them?
I'll tell you. So the potential is, if Meta does accept liability in this case and goes for the settlement of 1.3 billion or whatever, there are other countries around the world that will be like, okay, you were liable for this, now automatically you're liable to us, so you're gonna pay our fines too. So that's what it sets in motion, and then it becomes too expensive for them at that point. They will obviously try if they settle, they will try to bring down the settlement amount, obviously. That's what Theranos did, like almost got all of their, like, I think so, whatever debt was, like, almost erased, because they went for a plea bargain or something like that. So so it can go along those lines. And yes, Chesh, you are right that for one case, 1.3 billion is nothing for Meta. Nothing.
I have some numbers. So in 2022, Meta reported a revenue of 116.609 billion, but a profit of 23.2, right? So the profit is the more important figure, right? Because revenue is just how much money they took in. But one of the things, every business spends the majority of its revenue on internal things like, upkeep, payroll, maintenance, all sorts of stuff like that. Rent, whatever. Well, maybe not all companies spend their rent money, but, most do. I'm sure Meta is spending their rent money. So, I mean, on the one hand, if we assume that they're going to make about the same amount this year as last year, and they actually pay the 1.3 billion, is it going to ruin Meta? No. However, that's going to be a hit to every shareholder, right? Every single shareholder is going to see a noticeably decreased amount of money that their stock is worth. And I don't know if Meta pays dividends, but assuming they do, a lot of stocks do, it's going to be a hit to the dividends.
And surprise, who's in whose pocket when in March 2022, President Biden issued an executive order deploying a preliminary deal struck between Biden and EU leaders that created added checks on the collection of Europeans' personal information by U.S. intelligence agencies and allowing them to seek redress if their data is unlawfully intercepted. The deal needs final approval in the EU.
Yeah. So I'd like to bring up sort of two points. First is regarding Meta's Facebook, on policy regarding your data, and the second thing about how to do a meaningful penalty rather than just a fine. So the first thing is that if you use Meta, you're a product that's being sold to people, and even when Meta removes so-called personally identifying information, the effect of that information they collect and sell about you effectively identifies you. So they don't have
they
to
still
say,
have the
they don't
advantage
have,
of the. Go on, sorry, Landon.
they don't have to say a certain YouTube lady that lives in New Zealand that occasionally visits India, right? They don't have to say your name. They can give information about you to know exactly who you are. So,
They can
and that's why
still
that
study
people,
the market. They can
yes,
still study the market.
and even it doesn't have your name. And the other problems with that is that the data is intertied. So what Meta tried to argue with the EU is, well, we allowed Europeans to say don't sell my data, but when you are engaging in the internet sociopath platform called Facebook, it isn't necessarily you. You are engaging with somebody else, or you're chatting with somebody else, or you're sharing stuff on someone else's feed. And it's the interaction and people reacting to you that help define who you are from a Facebook model point of view. That is so even if you don't use Facebook, if you interact with people who do, you're essentially part of a data point that Facebook can use and sell. So Facebook tried to claim to the EU, well, we are respected EU's privacy laws. It's just they're interacting with people globally, and those people outside have reactions and information, which allows the EU citizens' data to be used inside the US.
Well, and part of that had a lot to do with Ireland as well, right? It was Irish protection laws that were the ones in question,
and that had to go of this particular lawsuit. But it's a matter of saying that if you are interacting with stuff, like if Chesh in Canada has interaction with Maanyaa in New Zealand, mm-hmm. And New Zealand has certain privacy laws, they can get information from Canada because your interaction with them. Yeah. And again, Facebook isn't trying to sell Chesh's data. They're trying to sell analytics about people like Chesh to folks, right? So it's hard for sit there and say, well, you can't sell Maanyaa's data when what Maanyaa is from Facebook's point of view is interaction with other people, right? So what the EU basically said is no, Meta, you essentially bypass European privacy laws by accessing the information value outside EU. So here's what I would do to Meta to make it stick. I wouldn't fine them. I would put them in the YouTube equivalent of timeout. I would say, and this has been suggested, I've been communicating with the European Commission, put Meta into timeout. Block access to Meta in EU countries and ban VPNs from transmitting metadata outside the EU for, let's say, a period like YouTube, like 2 weeks. Essentially say, Meta, your penalty is 2 weeks. EU will not have access to your platform. You're going to be gone out of the EU, right? Not money, but cut off what Meta counts on, which is taking you, the EU citizen, and monetizing you. And again, understand, they don't have to say who you are. Yeah. Just a couple of key information can exactly target who you are so that and worse is, if you're not like me, a Meta user, there's a file about me inside Meta that's being monetized, and I have no control over it, right? So I would, instead of penalizing the Mr. Internet Sociopath company, block it from use, suspend it for operations for a period of time as a penalty. And if they do repeat it, do like a YouTube does, longer and longer stuff until at some point they might be outright banned. That's going to get Meta's attention, not because the costs are just going to be passed along to the advertisers, and it'll be more expensive to advertise on Facebook and more expensive to get data from it. Understand as well, it's not just commercial stuff, but governments, right? Yeah. Your government may not have laws to prevent it from spying on you, but they'll buy information from Meta over the market using your taxpayer dollars to information about you, and the government spies on you. Even if you're not a metadata user, they're going to spy on you because you associate with people who do have accounts on Meta. So my recommendation is don't use Facebook.
And the best part
And I don't
is
care if you
that
say, well, I got to go and put these people's stories. No, don't use Facebook. Be nice to your people, your family members, and people you associate with, and don't use it. And if you wants to actually cause Meta penalties, put it in timeout for periods of time until they behave.
And that's a good point. And Velvet brought up another point that said it will affect people's businesses, though, and that might get people to use VPNs. And so for two things, I'll go the first one, and if Maanyaa or Landon want to take over for the VPN half of it, is that good. It should affect people's businesses, and people should change their business practices in a way that's going to benefit them. That's the whole point, right?
Yes.
It affecting people's businesses is a good thing. Although it's going to have a short-term negative effect on a lot of people, the point is that it's growing pains, right?
Yeah.
And Maanyaa or Landon, you guys want to touch on the VPN half?
So the VPN thing is that can also be detected. That can also be surpassed. There are many countries where VPN doesn't work. They can find other ways to counter if you're using a VPN.
Yeah,
So
because VPN, the endpoints are known.
So,
Yes.
for example, NordVPN, it advertises a lot through YouTubers, and they tell you, oh, you can watch this show from another country. No, you won't be able to. You know why? Because your credit card has a certain set of digits in it that indicates what country your card is from. And as soon as the system detects that your card is out of the country where you're trying to use the VPN for, it will not accept the payment. So yeah, there are other ways to counter VPN. It's not a big deal.
So what content control systems do that care? Let's say they want to have a content that's only available in country X, is they buy that cheap, services of the 6 months free, 85% off thing. They use VPNs. They note where they're coming from. They know the address block, and they put bans on it. So if you think you're going to get around it, you might get temporarily. It might work for a temporary thing until the company actually cares about it and stops it, right? So VPNs have a point, and one of the things that VPNs can do is give you a more secure access to name service, because if you're at a coffee shop, open coffee shop, and you go to www.bigbank.com, system crackers will intercept your where's www.bigbank.com, and they say it's in my server that I will do a man-in-the-middle attack and spoof you. VPNs can make it harder for people at a coffee shop to do that to you, but they won't protect you from essentially the other side of the coin. And so if the EU wanted to say, Meta is under timeout for this period of time, and VPNs are blocked from the VPN sites where these things are very well known, and they can block it. Essentially, penalize Meta for stuff. You can't, billions of dollars of fine isn't going to stop Meta's behavior.
Or they can go the other way around.
Loss of access to a market is.
Yeah, and they can also go the other way around and say that NordVPN is not going to service Meta at all, and if they do, they get fined. They're like VPN services or companies, whatever. Yeah, it can go both ways. Yeah.
And again, this is guidance being given to the EU Commission to say, if you want to get Meta's attention, put it in a timeout. Stick it in the corner and say, okay, your first penalty, you 24 hours timeout. Second penalty, 1 week. Third penalty, 3 months. Fourth penalty, outright ban, right? You do and believe me, they'll get the Meta's attention.
So we have one more story to cover, because we were going to talk about the Tories and Brexit, but I think maybe we should save that. Maybe we can
later.
Yeah, we got to save that one for later. I think we should maybe get Barry back. I think Barry would be a fun person to have for that one. But I would be remiss. I would be very remiss if I did not have a stream that mentioned the writer's strike. Also specifically because
Tell
Disney
me about this.
is now getting affected. Disney, so tell me
about the writer's strike is and what they're striking about.
So currently,
some context.
the writers' strike is specifically, if you have not been following, is writers are making demands for what I would call the bare bones basic, not having to rewrite scripts written by AI, getting money, getting a writer's room because I guess they're getting rid of that, having minimums for how long they're going to be hired for, and for working on project, you get hired for the entire project rather than for like day by day, because they're trying to turn certain things into gig jobs where you're hired for like the day or the week and then you're gone. Having to do a ton of rewrites from home because there is no writer's room and no writers getting together. Issues with head writer stuff, as well as issues with streaming and getting paid for like the way you would get paid for reruns, but with streaming instead. So lots of stuff like that been going on. They are on week 4. So far you've got Netflix, you've got Disney, you've got Discovery, Paramount. None of them are even willing to negotiate. None of them are. They're barely even offering counterpoints to some of the things that they're asking for. So it's just like no negotiation. We're just telling you no. They're on week 4. Wow. There is also currently a vote going on for actors to be joining them, which is the voting date is up on June 5th. So we're going to see how that comes up soon. I've seen Neil Gaiman on the picket line. I've seen Mark Ruffalo on the picket line. They're picketing. They're doing a lot at Paramount, Netflix as well. So they have not they are ignoring them so far. We are on week 4 and there has been no progress. So
are they trying to?
I'm sure that would be great for all the shows and movies.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Are they trying to like, I don't know, outspend the writers like that? They will financially like run out of support. But what they don't realize is they will go back to the government then for benefits and stuff if they're unemployed, and then the government will be like, what the fuck.
So the Writers Guild does have an option to donate to writers if you want, where they go through and they mitigate funds to whatever they happen to need at the time and help those who are more or less in need. If you do want to like a lot more coverage, you can go and check out Adam Conover. He is on the picket line day in, day out. He is taking videos, he's talking to people, he's done a couple of interviews at this point talking about what is going on. I definitely recommend checking out wherever you happen to be able to find him. Disney has canceled at Disneyland. They've been canceling their performances because the writers are striking and the performers at Disney are striking. So, the guys dressed up as stormtroopers and the guy dressed up as Aladdin and the girl dressed up as Jasmine, they're all like, fuck off. So Disney's got a couple of things to worry about.
Yeah. And then there's DeSantis.
So if I could add something here, Chesh, be careful to not fall in the trap of saying, overpriced, inflated, big end writer for a giant show is holding a tantrum. There's a lot of the rank and file of people you never hear of that have small salaries are being argued. What the media organization are trying to say is, this is Tom Cruise holding a temper tantrum, spoiled brat who wants more money, even though he's a multimillionaire.
Yeah, no.
Those are the rare things.
I'm more meant to indicate that Neil Gaiman, who writes books, is showing up and showing solidarity, and Mark Ruffalo, who's an actor, when the actors have not joined yet.
Yeah.
So I was more trying to indicate there's industry-wide solidarity for the writers that are picketing.
But the anti-strike people are going to try to say, this is only a few Hollywood elites having a temper tantrum, wanting even more money, right? This is not the case. Yeah. These are rank and file people who are trying to make ends meet, who actually do the work that you enjoy.
There's a decent chance that whatever show you were happy with that you didn't like partway through or near the end is because the writers kept changing throughout the process.
Yeah.
Or one of the important things that the writers would like to have changed in their contract is that the writing staff be kept on during production.
Yep.
Hey, you ever notice a show that goes weirdly downhill and then the writers are like, well, I mean, that's not how I wrote
Game
it.
of Thrones. Game of Thrones.
When the writers aren't kept on,
yes.
the people who end up
Star
doing
Wars.
the script changes mid-production aren't writers. They're directors and producers, and sometimes actors. Now,
And sometimes
Daenerys
marketing
Targaryen
people.
will be my Khaleesi
Right.
forever.
Now, that's not to say that actors and directors and producers and such can't be creative and can't have good story ideas. But if you want to see them implemented well, get a writer.
Star Wars was written by like 4 people. The current Star Wars was written by about 76 throughout the process, changing every time.
Right. So there's a lot of reasons to support the writers, whether or not, like, I don't care if you're like in political solidarity with them. I don't care if you like unions, whatever. Do you like good TV and movies? Do you want to get more good and less bad TV and movies? Then many of the things the writers are currently striking for will help. On the other hand, if you want your favorite show to start being written by ChatGPT literally, then sure, I guess
Yes.
fuck the writers.
No.
And understand that if you enjoy shows like The Daily Show or Last Night, those are writers, right? The person who's the actor doing the late night talk show are essentially reading, have essentially being fed lines from writers who do the research and do the, not only writers, but people who do the imaging and so forth, that sort of thing, are people that are doing base wages. They're not super wealthy folks. And so don't
Even
let
this
Disney
show,
tell you that this is just a bunch of cranky, high-paid millionaires who are throwing a temper tantrum. It is people trying to earn a living, trying to live paycheck to paycheck, that essentially produce the content that you enjoy.
even this show and any show that you see on YouTube or anything that you see on Twitch, unless it's absolute complete garbage nonsense, has writing involved. It has pre-production involved. I have to go through and get all of the things that we're going to be looking at. I got to sort through all of the articles. All of that stuff falls under the heading of writing.
On the other hand, I just show up.
Goblin is active, Chris.
Yeah, I'm a very busy boy. As the writer
Or in this
Guild
case,
of
I
America-
don't show up. Because
Yeah, what's
I don't
going
know
on
what
with
happened,
Aaron?
by the way. So
Yeah, Zapper's broken.
at one point, I just disconnected, and then when I reconnected, my my OBS webcam just refused to be recognized.
Oh.
So now my webcam is just off. Sorry. Yeah, I have no idea why that happened.
Just imagine there's a dinosaur there,
Yeah.
nodding with a tie on
Yeah.
and top hat. That's
I might have a-
but
I
again,
might have an
you know,
image of
the
Dapper
thing-
kicking around somewhere I can throw
You
up.
probably do. Yeah, you probably do.
the quality of content that you enjoy, the vast majority is written by writers for whom are not multimillionaires but are living paycheck to paycheck, who don't want to be turned into a gig writer that gets employed by a couple hours and then gets taxed out, but actually earn a living. If you want quality content, especially content that's, quote, for free, you need to be understanding that these writers need to earn a living. They're not doing it out of the kindness of their heart. They have a rent to pay. They have a food bill to pay, and so the art that you enjoy, often for free, or for a small, $5 a month or whatever service you're having, is because of writers that produce the content, not because of Disney, not because of Paramount, not because of Max or those things, but because of writers who are producing content that you enjoy.
There we go.
Right?
Dapper's
Otherwise,
on the screen
it turns
Yeah,
into
writers
TikTok.
for a reason.
Yeah.
Oh God.
now. Hey, Dapper's on the screen now. We fixed him.
Hey, hi, Dapper.
He back.
I'm
As the
less
writers-
lively than I was, but
A little bit. You're tired. It's okay. As the
I
Writers
am
Guild
tired.
As the Writers Guild of America strike wraps up its 4th week today with no end in sight, the strike will break from the picketing script that defined the first month of their walkout and will instead take part in what's expected to be a large multi-union rally downtown. Quote, we're switching up the usual LA studio picket schedule so writers can turn out for a historic multi-union rally, WGA leader said in a message to its members last week. The striking writers are expected to be joined by numerous unions. This is what I was saying about like the actors unions and others for a 5 p.m. rally at South Figueroa.
Yes, Figueroa.
And West 12th Street, near the convention center where the state Democratic Party is holding its annual meetings. According to the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor, or AFL-CIO, in addition to the WGA, the rally will include members of SAG,
Screen Actors Guild,
SAG, Screen Actors Guild,
and IATSE, and
AFTRA, SAG-AFTRA,
and the Teamsters, along with hotel workers, teachers, and like a bunch of others.
SEIU, one of my favorite unions. Hi, SEIU members, thank you very much for your service.
And AFSCME. So many initials. Organizers, all the initials are going to this rally. Organizers said the rally goers represent more than 200,000 workers in Los Angeles whose contracts are set to expire. The Screen Actors Guild is nearing the end of its contract with Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, which represents the Hollywood studios, and last week its leaders called for a strike authorization vote as labor negotiations approach.
Mm-hmm. Here we go.
Studio...
Look, if SAG joins... If SAG joins the WGA, writers,
WAG.
Whatever WA, there it is. Yeah. If those both go on strike, I mean, WGA. That's Hollywood done basically.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, because the thing is,
so
you might say, well, what if they hire scabs? How are you going to hire a scab to film your hit TV show? What, are you just going to recast everyone with scabs? That's not going to work.
That would be kind of fun.
I mean, you go to Twitter. You go to Twitter. And you go to Twitter and you ask Twitter to give you the lines so you then put into a show. That's how you can get scabs, right?
Oh my god!
But understand,
the dialogue is written by Twitch chat.
God no!
It wouldn't be good, but I might watch it anyway.
Yeah.
So understand as well. You the viewer that are watching this. One of the things that's going to happen is that the so-called culture war people are going to sit there and say this is a strike about the Hollywood elite that are quote anti-American blah 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 and try to they'll try to denigrate it from that point of view of saying this is just Hollywood elites doing stuff because Hollywood bad because culture war stuff, right? Don't fall for that as well, right? Because again, I guarantee you that a lot of the content that you pay for or you enjoy for free is because of a writer who knows how to write is doing that, and they deserve a living wage.
Oh yeah.
The studios are also engaged in contract talks with the Directors Guild of America, so that's the directors as well. Friday's rally changes the picket game plan for the WGA, which since May 2nd has manned picket lines outside of all major LA area studios. But zero progress has been made in resolving the dispute. I did see David Zaslav being asked a question being interviewed in the news, like in the regular standard media. What could what's the breaching thing? What's going to be the thing that could possibly bridge all of these issues for you? And I've had to pause the video and say, money. Pay these people money. It's not hard.
Well,
you
it's
have
just
lots
the money,
of it.
There's also things like the job security, the requirements about
yeah, but you only care about job security when you need money.
Well, right, but there's also things like, hey, to what degree should we be allowing AI to actually take over writing duties? Because the thing is,
right,
there are pushes to have AI take over writing duties so that you don't have to train people. In fact, some contracts that were being sent out to writers included in the fine print provisions that their scripts be allowed to be used to train AI for the companies producing the films. And when people noticed that, they were like, hold up, I do not agree to this. Because all that is you're just saying, hey, why don't we use your scripts to train a replacement for you that we don't have to pay at all.
There's also like
Wow.
this additional bit as well where they want to have an AI bot write it and then or do the initial drafts and then bring a writer in to do less work to fix it.
Hmm.
Because that's less work.
Yes, and so
Yeah.
you'll get a case of Disney doing another one of these Star Wars knockoff stuff because they want to sell a video game and they think you're dumb enough to buy it, and they'll have a chat bot that understands that it's basically scrape the Star Wars content and say, make me another Star Wars thing. Lightsabers, a couple of religious things called and foo-foo stuff and space things and space lasers and pew 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 and then sell it as a new Star Wars gig, and it'll suck as typically it will be unless you have writers to come and say no, that's not how you do plot dynamics. This is not what Leia would do. This is not sort of thing. You need to have people who are confident in the language and confident in the presentation, understand how to do dramatic stuff, and those people need to
And
basically
also-
earn a living.
And also they understand like what the fans want, right? Or how the fans think, majority of the fans, or what even the minority of the fans think. And to cater to all of them to make something successful, you need proper writers. You can't depend on AI to do it for you. But yeah, I think so. It's about time, I guess. Writers started copywriting their shit then. Like every time they produce a script for an episode or something, they're saying, this is my
Yeah.
material, this is copyrighted, you don't get it. Just like books.
And the other
Well, that
I don't
would
think as well
require
is
changing
that
the contract.
shows should sit there
That's
and say, shows should sit there and say, these people are the writers that wrote this stuff, right? Who spent time creating this content, not the big. You don't want to say the big thing of, it's Tom Cruise is the headline person. No, it's the script and the writers that did the stuff that should also be up there on the marquee of being the people that you could either praise or blame, depending on you like the show or
Also,
not.
nobody should like Tom Cruise anyway. Zero
no.
progress has been made in resolving the dispute, with no word of any talks taking place on or any on the radar. So it's been a month,
Here.
and nobody is talking to the writers at all. Quote, there is no official rule preventing the studios from making a fair deal with writers while in negotiations with another union, the WGA tweeted Thursday. Quote, it's the studio's choice to let the strike continue. And so, I think that's just the thing that I really wanted to highlight with this. This has been going on for a month. And basically, this is a war of attrition. Who is going to outlast whom? Are the studios going to have to fold because not only are the writers on strike, but the actors are on strike, and they only have so much processing power to AI and deepfake everything? And is that something you're really gonna want to watch, even if it does look or sound good?
Yeah, nah. Ew. Ew. EU.
Yeah. Well, so one thing is, I don't think that they will get to the point where they fold, just because, look, the studios want to make money. They know that if they don't have people working for them, they will not be able to do that. And they also know that while they might be able to get away with scab writers, maybe, they absolutely cannot get away with scab actors and keep making the money they need to be making to keep their shareholders happy.
Actors, directors, writers, as well as like the lighting people, the set designers, the Screen Actors Guild, like they're screwed if all of these people from up and
What
down
about-
the industry are out.
Yeah, what about special effect artists who do your special effect work? Yeah.
I don't even know if that's normally a unionized job. I don't think it is. It would be an interesting thing to see it happen, though. I don't see any reason why it
I'm
couldn't
saying.
be unionized.
The
The tricky thing there is,
change-
though,
Sorry,
that-
go ahead.
I was going to say, the tricky thing with special effects is that special effects is usually something that's hired out to a separate company that itself has employees that it
Yeah,
employs.
a lot of
So,
the
like,
time, yeah.
yeah, your special effects aren't coming from Disney. They're coming from some special effects production company. they'll be hired by Paramount. Sometimes they'll be hired by an advertising firm to make a beer commercial.
Yep.
So
there's the thing that I'm kind of hoping that'll come out of this is that I just really, really hope that the I really just hope that what we get out of this is that unions aren't bad, and all of the propaganda that was going around in the 80s and 90s and all the union busting that happened between the 80s and 90s up until now fucking takes a back seat, and people are like, yes, a union can be corrupt, but that doesn't mean unions are corrupt. That doesn't mean unions are a bad thing. Unions are great. So I'm hoping this will actually, because we've had a couple failed attempts, right? The 1% thing went nowhere. Like that big protest about like 1% of people, the 99%, yada yada yada, went fucking nowhere. And it went nowhere because it had no clear leaders. It had no clear direction. It had no union with the writers, and with all of the other ones that are joining in, including the Screen Actors Guild as well as the Teamsters, is huge. And so if like other unions start utilizing this opportunity to garner more people and actually get more, there was the Starbucks unionizing, that was a huge deal. Amazon. Yep. If any of these things start unionizing, we're going to see some serious major change in the way just industry on the whole works and functions in America. Now we're back to the people, my guys.
And if the employers do not take steps now, the pushback you're going to receive later will be much more. Because once these guys go through surviving your whatever you're trying to make them wait out, or their finances stuff, once they get over that, there's no coming back for you guys, because they will stay on strike forever. And there is something called what do you say, reputation. Your reputation amongst working class will come down, and if boycotts start happening, TV shows, movies, we are already seeing with Aquaman, and like people are saying, if Amber Heard's in it, we're not going to go and see, right? If that spreads out, next that's going online is your income and your return and your profit and the roof you have over your head. So you think you're going to like wait these guys out, but you're gonna take a hit if these guys survive that. So just think on those lines also. I'm just saying.
I don't know.
Agreed.
Realistically, I think that all of the things that the writers are asking for are bare bones minimums. They're not even asking for anything terribly impressive. They're asking for basics.
What I basically mean is, with what I just said, is we have a saying back home, like, don't scare someone so much that they stop being scared. Like, don't push your luck. Don't fuck around and don't find out like that. Yeah, so that's what I meant. Like,
yeah, you can only scare somebody so much before they give up and they're like, well, this is just what I have to deal with. So
fuck it.
It's like backing an animal. It's like backing an animal into a corner. Yeah.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah.
That was the last thing I had. You guys have any other things that you guys wanted to touch on? No more Marjorie Taylor Greene news?
Oh God.
I'm sure. There is certainly various silly parade going on regarding like the Texas House impeaching a attorney general that even Texas Republicans had to get are pushing to get rid of. Whether or not the Senate will convict him is another thing. And there's crazy stuff happening with the whole travesty of the Ukrainian war. There's a whole bunch of travel chaos problems with Brexit from the former United Kingdom. Of course, there was King Big Ears being inaugurated through a horribly opulent stuff where if you watched it, you saw the real crown jewels happening with all the silly things that make Britain British. Although I appreciated some of my Scottish and relatives doing the song of You can shove the coronation up your ass. You can shove the coronation up your ass. You can shove the coronation. You can shove the coronation. You can shove the coronation up your ass. And or arse or whatever you want to use for that. But they
Arse.
and it's a fun thing to see people basically poking fun at stuff which the traditional Markanists love to do. Spectacle, but what can you say? It's their affliction.
Yeah.
Absolutely fair. All right. There's always going to be more to cover. We're going to be back again soon to start covering it. We should probably start looking to sign off. Do you want to go Dapper, Maanyaa, then Landon, then me, and we'll get on out of here?
Sure. Hey, come by Tuesday for Kent with Bent. Thursday for a big old premiere. It's going to be like an hour and a half or something. I don't know, maybe 2 hours. I haven't checked. And then come by on Saturday, a week from today, where I'm going to be doing a 10,000 subscriber special. I'm planning to be live for quite a while. Yep, I'll probably bring some booze. We'll get some videos. I'm going to be giving out join links so people can come in and come out as far as guests are concerned. And at some point, I don't know, maybe I'll play a game.
Tuesday, when is it going to start? When do you think I'm starting?
So the Tuesday show starts at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. The Thursday show starts at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. And the 10,000 subscriber special, I believe, will end up starting at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. But I have to confirm that because since it's going to be fairly long, I want to make sure that like noon to late is a good time. Maybe I should start it earlier so it doesn't go quite as late. I have to do some stuff and figure out when guests can be there, when they can't, stuff like that. It's a little bit more complicated than just I'll start at my normal time and go late. But currently, that's my default. Is I'll start at noon and go for a long time.
Start at noon. What time zone? Because
Pacific.
That
Sorry,
could be the
Pacific.
time. So starting
as
at
previously
noon
stated,
Pacific.
It's not fair
3 p.m.
because
Eastern.
Dapper switches around.
That's true. I
Noon
do.
Pacific on. You're saying noon Pacific on Monday, May 30th. No, Tuesday, May 30th.
Saturday the 3rd.
Saturday.
Tuesday
The
is
3rd,
Kent with
okay.
Ben.
Yes, which will be at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And it's not me who switches around, by the way. It's you who switches around. My clock stays steady and doesn't change.
Yeah, everybody else changes around Dapper.
Mm-hmm. And it's weird, and I don't know why you do it, but you keep doing it every year.
So special thanks, special congratulations to Dapper and
Thank
his
you.
10K. Good for you, my dude. Congratulations.
You deserve it.
You deserve it.
Thank you.
Yay.
Hard work all around. Good job. Maanyaa, what are you doing? Nothing?
Me?
Sleeping? Napping?
Napping. Yeah. Prepping to get to work tomorrow. Hopefully I can get out of my bed. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's me. Yeah, like throughout my work week, throughout the weekdays, I'm just working. It's the Saturdays and the Sundays that I get a little respite. So, and then I'm here. I'm either on that time of the month, Dumpfect Friday, Unnamed Tavern, or just fucking around in the live chats on Chesh or Dapper's shows somewhere. And you can find me on Twitter too, and in Chesh's Discord also. So yeah, that's me. I'm a simple person.
Going on, Landon?
So anyway, so I'm back from my exploring both Australia and Indonesia, and getting back in the swing of things. I want to point out that that Maanyaa and Chesh and I will be on a volcano show starting at 1 p.m. Pacific on June 2nd, where we will see what Madame Pele is doing. That's coming forward. We will reschedule. We're process of trying to reschedule, perhaps for a different day of the week, the Kinham Bill Nye dumpster fire debate, and I'm sure we'll have that thing. In the meantime, do consider checking out people like Dapper stuff, and of course Maanyaa and Chesh's show. Check out people such as Logic. I want to get a shout out to. Check out people like Thunderfoot, so forth. There's some good content creators out there that deserve your support. Consider clicking the like button on this thing or the hate button, depending on which you want, because that engagement helps this channel. So thank you very much for that. And sea contest coding for rebuilding that is still going on. There's some astronomy stuff going on and other cool things. So stay tuned.
Please downvote me into oblivion.
Yes, do it.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the topics that we covered. I will be adding all the links to everything down below, as well as they were in the chat. So if you're watching this in the future and you're looking for the links of some of the stuff we talked about, links are down below, as well as in the chat if you just go to that timestamp. I will try to chapter this. I think we did pretty good staying on topic for each one while we were on it, so it should be doable.
Mostly.
It's a little bit... You'll notice that we probably talked over each other a little bit more in this one, because it's been a month since we've done this, and we do have a delay, so good job, everybody.
I apologize.
Practice coordination.
Don't apologize, it's just a thing that you gotta get in the habit of, and when you're gone for a month, it takes time to get everybody back into the groove. I will likely be live again on Monday, but it will be over on Twitch, and make sure to hit the bell because there are videos, and far more videos coming out on this channel now, because I'm doing a lot of my just chit-chatty stuff over on Twitch. I will be live there on Tuesday as well. So the produced shows, like this one, and Dumbfect Friday, and Volcano shows, are happening live here. But if you want things like the Tuesday tats, where like I'll talk about like Vic Maanyaa, or I'll talk about like whatever dumb shit I saw on Twitter that week, that's over there. And sometimes I'm playing Breath of the Wild. I mean, Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, Zelda. Don't worry about it. You'll find us over there. Links again down below. Thank you so much for joining us. Greatly appreciate it, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
This guy is unfucking believable.